Hey, good morning. This is my morning brief. So, some things I'm looking at here. I have drawn out a little sideways channel right here of potential targets for today. All obviously, we're already into my measured possible target here in the pre-market. So we'll see what happens here. I think this 4112 area is going to be really interesting in today's session. We are at a 50% retracement also. So my primary thesis was that on the open this morning, my first thesis, we're going to come back down here, tag the 4171 area, or the 4070 one area, and I'll possibly backtest this trend line, and then we can get a reprieve back to the upside. So that is my primary thesis that we're going to be coming down. Get my little marker here. So my primary thesis so far this morning, we're going to be coming down, testing, and then possibly going back up here. Okay, that's my thesis one for this morning. Things are really strong here in Europe, so that could be supportive, and we may not even get that pullback. So some things I'm also looking at here. Let me get my controller here. We'll go over here on a 1 hour time frame so you can see real quick here. So basically, you see these blue boxes right here. These represent the ranges outside expected move that we have had over the past several weeks. So like I said, the past 8 weeks, 6 of the past 8 weeks have been outside expected moves in the market. So those are also gravity points for possible targets. So, if we already blow right through uh, uh, my target for the day, that was my upside target, and we're right already into it. If we blow right through that, so I'm looking somewhere between both of these two tops as being your next resistance level. So I'm looking right up here, somewhere here between the 4140 and the 4147 area as being our next resistance area. Unless you have your 4158 as your 61.8 on your Fibonacci retracement of this prior move. Okay, so so basically, because we blew to the upside, this was our we blew past our expected move that week, and that's where we found resistance. That to me seems like a logical place today that we could, to the upside, find resistance and top out in today's session. So the 4140 area is very critical for a hard test here. And there's other reasons. I was going through individual charts, and there does seem to be some reason to think that like semiconductors today could actually catch a bid. See, that is our primary resistance. Okay, and so we are coming up into that, but we haven't quite got to that yet. So that suggests to me that we're going to get continued bid, fairly early this morning, that the semiconductors could actually get a continued bid up into that resistance area earlier this morning. Some other things I'm looking at this morning, select NVIDIA, individual stocks. We are back inside of our Andrews pitchfork this morning. Very oversold conditions. We know that it got as low as lost 65% this year. This could actually catch a bid today in relation to because of there's still room here for the semis to possibly catch a relief rally here today. So I've been watching that, and then I'm watching Google. Some other things I'm looking at here already. We had maybe a bad print, but you see my little wedging pattern here on my moving my wedge. We've already tagged that. So, we came into it for the close Friday. We've already tagged that. Maybe a bad print this morning, but it caught my eye this morning. You go on the daily here, see how I drew those lines. You see that downtrend right there. We're in a really tight wedge pattern here on Google. So heads up on that, looking like we might be closing at or above this downward trend line today. So heads up on it. It's a really tight wedging pattern, and it could actually explode to the upside here if it would start accepting prices above the 113.50. So I'm looking for a possible early bid up here to the 113, 113.30 area here on Google, testing to see if they want to break out above that wedge early on this morning. So heads up on that. Some one other things, and then Meta, that's another one I was looking at here. Already into that trend line. Go on the daily, show you what I've got going on here on Meta. Da, 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 da. We got this downtrend line right here. Since that massive gap down on their earnings, we are right below that trend line starting the session this morning. Thinking that we could actually get we're right into this prior consolidation area, right into that trend line to start the week. So heads up on that. This downtrend line, this thing here looks like it could squeeze. The shorts could be forced to cover on this situation. So heads up on that. Very interesting pattern that I'm seeing develop here on that one. Okay. Okay, other patterns that could be catalysts for technology here. Okay, your ZBs. You see your ZBs here in this very oversold situation here on our bonds. We have a potential to be opening the week above the downtrend here, possibly catching an early bid. Even if it comes up to these range lows, that is going to be supportive of the technology space. ZBs, see that downtrend. So it looks like we could potentially be breaking this downtrend. Possibly an inverted head and shoulders pattern. That would suggest that we could be coming back up to this area up here, 136.22 with the better news out of Ukraine, this scenario really looks plausible that we could be seeing a relief rally this week in our bonds. So definitely keep that in mind. ZNs, they're actually looking even a little bit better. We've already looked above this downward trend line a couple times here on our ZNs. It looks like we're going to have a firm weekly big open above this downward trend line. So this one here is even looking much more constructive. Also, could be coming up to the 117.26 here for a relief rally in our bonds. So heads up on that. It's always really good to see the bonds yields coming in, and that could be constructive for the technology space. One last thing here. I want to keep my video short here. I told you guys in my newsletter that I sent out over the weekend that we are rejecting a major resistance possible area here for the dollar, and that is continuing to show that it's doing so. I am actually wondering possibly we could see this dollar all the way down on that trend line before the day's out. So I'm going to boldly say that the dollar might be coming off pretty hard today in today's session. So let's keep an eye on that and see if that dollar can actually come down really hard today down into this trend line. So, if that does bode well for the bullish case in this market. Okay. And my final takeaway right here, anytime, we're above Johnny's uh, Elliott Wave uh, uh, cloud area, I guess you call it cloud area, and we're about 175. We're going to be opening up here today, and we have really hard resistance at the 980 area. And this is my conglomerate chart. It's not showing it on there. This is Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. Let's see if I bring it down here. There you go. Sorry, guys. This is my conglomerate chart. Sorry, I didn't have that on the screen. And so that bodes that we're going to have a hard test of this resistance. You see, to break, that after that support, we still got room for the hard test. That still to me leans more bullish than bearish for the open. Okay. And then another way of looking at this right here. So we are breaking above this prior. I had an R3 here last week, and we've blown through that. So now that is no longer there. So now we're coming back up here, doing a hard test. This was an invert. This is a head and shoulders breakdown. Looks like a hard test coming in early on this morning for that breakdown scenario from this pattern. So heads up on that in today's session. Okay. Looks like we're coming back up into this area up here. So just heads up. That's what I'm seeing. Oh, one last thing to be aware of this morning. We do have a contract row on the futures contracts. So we had this gap up on our futures this morning. I turned off the on your futures adjust for contract changes. Typically, when I'm actually trading in the markets, I have that on. Okay. So when you look at that, things are a little bit different on your charting whenever you do that. Okay. So heads up on that. That does change your charts a little bit when you do adjust for those contract rows. That's why I did want to show you guys that we do have a gap below because of the contract low. So we'll see what happens here. So ultimately, like I said, it looks like the main resistance is still higher. So, like I said, scenario one, I would love to come down and fill that gap, and then we can take off to the races. Okay, but scenario two, because we are so close to those critical resistance levels that we don't get any pullback at all, and and that we're just going to continue to ascend here into those resistance areas, and then maybe later on in today's session we see some sort of pullback down here. I don't know if how much we'll get. Maybe that could be actually a major topping area up in this area. Okay, so heads up on that. They maybe that begin opens the door for a hard back test into tomorrow of this trend line, and or maybe even later today. For a hard back test into the afternoon session. So this heads up on that. Things look really good because of the Ukraine stuff. So it's hard to say. Okay.